Women experience various gender discrimination challenges in the workplace, particularly in the technology industry. Few companies are more widely known than technology giant Google, the information technology company that revolutionized the role the internet plays in our everyday lives. Aside from being one of the most influential companies in technology, Google is known for its company culture and inclusive working environment. However, this doesn't mean it is excluded from gender discrimination and gender bias issues. The central origin of gender discrimination in the workplace begins with women being underrepresented in the respective industry. Levels of gender discrimination and gender bias is shown to increase in industries such as the technology industry, which continues to have low percentages of women in the workforce. In 2019, women represent 47% of the U.S. workforce, according to the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics. However, women make up only 32% of the total workforce at Google and merely 23% of tech jobs at Google. Many people assume that from these numbers that women are not interested in tech. Others conclude that women's priorities focus on their families while men focus on earnings and status. Nevertheless, according to data from the National Science Foundation, more women than ever are earning degrees in STEM-related fields. However, in 2019, women only earned about 19% of STEM-related jobs. Historical gender roles and beliefs have molded today's implicit and unconscious bias against women working in the technology industry. Unconscious bias means that different perspectives can give influence beyond conscious awareness, which creates ambiguity or allows for several interpretations of a subject. For example, when engineers make assumptions about product users, almost every assumption is questionable. This is because everyone uses unconscious biases as boundaries that one is unwilling to expand upon. These biases are basically shortcuts that our brain creates to deal with the massive amount of information we learn every day. The only way to eliminate implicit bias is by being conscious about any potential biases one may have and focus on thinking objectively about the data they receive. In the following video from the 2017 Silicon Valley Forum, Stephanie Lampkin further explains how unconscious bias works.
So I'm very reluctant to use the term eliminate unconscious bias because inherently you can't eliminate bias. It is inherent to our DNA. In the beginning of human existence, bias was important for our survival, but now in modern day times, bias can create critical blind spots, most oftentimes in hiring and even in investing. They say that the unconscious mind can process over 11 million bits of information per second, yet your conscious mind can only process about 100 bits, which means we create these shortcuts. So even as I walked on stage and you saw me, your brain created shortcuts about who I am based on my race, gender, nationality, height, weight, etc. But you miss out key bits of information when you don't dig deeper, right? So oftentimes people ask me, oh, did you run track in high school? You look like a track star, right? Because that's what black girls do. We run track, right? But actually, I was a ski racer from the age of 7 to 17, and now I do backcountry skiing everywhere from Whistler to St. Anton am Alberg, right, in Austria. But you would never guess that, right? Because your shortcuts don't give you the leeway to leave that as a possibility.
Despite other technology companies feeding into the gender discrimination norms, Google took an unconventional approach and focuses on creating a positive work culture and environment for all employees. It's pretty well documented that Google has a unique culture. It's not the typical corporate culture. In fact, just by looking at pictures inside the Googleplex, you could say that it looks more like an adult playground, not a place for work. Google's motto is the primary resource for its employees to turn to in regards to a guide for the overall culture at the company. The motto that appears in both legal contracts and on company walls states simply, "Don't be evil." According to Google's diversity team, start quote, Google aspires to be a different kind of company. It's impossible to spell out every possible ethical scenario we might face. Instead, we rely on one another's good judgment to uphold a high standard of integrity for ourselves and our company. We expect all Googlers to be guided by both the letter and spirit of this code." End quote. The tech company hires its employees based on Googliness, or a mix of different personality traits and ambitions that help guide their culture. In 2014, Google became one of the first technology companies to release a race and gender diversity report of its workforce. Google's decision to disclose this information is an important step in creating a more inclusive community within the technology industry. The global tech giant was applauded for its efforts regarding transparency, but the results of the diversity report were highly criticized. However, while other tech companies were being accused of an unwelcoming and intimidating environment, Google became known as one of the best workplaces. Despite Google's low percentages of women in technology, the company is steadily increasing efforts in including women. The 2019 Diversity Report revealed that the representation of women in technical roles at Google has risen from 16.6% in 2014 to 22.9% in 2019. Of course, Google still has a long way to reach equal gender representation in technology, but it is clear that efforts have been made to achieve better inclusivity. Although diversity reports help the tech industry become more transparent, one factor of gender discrimination not being solved is that women don't have a platform to speak on. Many courses, sites, and organizations have been created in regards to assisting women in the tech industry. Communities such as Elephant in the Valley inspire unconventional talk regarding money, diversity, and discrimination. The idea behind Elephant in the Valley was to create a survey aimed at women in Silicon Valley who had experience in the tech industry. The study gathered anonymous experiences of over 200 women professionals with at least 10 years of experience. The individual respondents are women from large companies such as Google, Apple, and VMware. The survey focused on several significant issues that have occurred in the history of this issue, including unconscious bias, sexual harassment, family life, exclusion of opportunity, and the wage gap. These types of organizations give women the opportunity to speak about issues they face in the real tech industry, as it also promotes solutions to these issues. Women in tech face microaggressions that not only impact their career but can also force them out of their jobs. Microaggressions aren't actually micro. They are behaviors, comments, and questions which affect the culture of a community. According to the Elephant in the Valley survey, 88% of women have experienced clients or colleagues addressing questions to male peers that should have been addressed to them. 84% of women reported eye contact with male colleagues and not themselves. The survey also found that 87% of women experienced demeaning comments from male colleagues, and 47% of women were asked to do lower-level tasks that male colleagues were not asked to complete. Microaggressions add up in a corrosive way and lead to women feeling they are not supported in their work and overall impact their work performance. They reinforce gender roles and emphasize that you are an outsider within your own work community. Microaggressions normalize gender discrimination within the workplace, which affect women's view on the tech community and can encourage them to find a different career. Microaggressions have the potential to lead to other forms of discrimination, such as exclusion from opportunities. Women are excluded from opportunities to advance in their career, which leads to an unequal representation of women in leadership positions. Many women feel that there is no seat at the table for women due to managers who believe that they are more interested in their family and will not advance in the industry because they will have kids in the future. On the report of the Elephant in the Valley survey, 66% of women felt excluded from key social or networking opportunities because of gender. 40% felt the need to speak less about their family to be taken more seriously, and 90% of women witnessed sexist behavior at company or industry conferences. Even though diversity reports are the new standard in the tech industry, tech companies still deny to release data regarding the compensation for their workers, which covers evidence of the pay gap seen in the technology industry. Silicon Valley brings a large percentage of jobs, income tax, and technology to California. While observing the pay gap, it expands at the top, which is where tech workers lie. Engineering and technology careers provide some of the highest incomes within California, which should set an example for all other employers in the state. Yet, these wage gaps mean that there are billions of dollars each year in which women are missing out. Not only do the wage gaps present a problem for our state, but all other forms of discrimination lead to unwanted barriers for women within the tech industry, which means the industry becomes even less inviting to young women and less diverse in the STEM labor force. The lack of representation of women in an industry negatively affects the environment for women, which increases the potential for sexist behavior and acts of sexual harassment. As reported in the Elephant in the Valley survey, 60% of women in tech reported unwanted sexual advances, with 65% of those reported receiving advances from a superior. The survey found that half of these reporting women received advances more than once, and 1 in 3 women have felt afraid for their personal safety because of work-related circumstances. Unfortunately, many reported cases found that 60% of women who reported sexual harassment were dissatisfied with the course of action, and 39% of those harassed did nothing because they thought it would negatively impact their career. Out of the same women who have experienced sexual harassment, 30% did not report because they wanted to forget, and 29% signed a non-disparagement agreement. In conclusion, the tech community remains a male-dominated industry, which has led to acts of gender discrimination and gender bias throughout the industry's history. Diversity is critical in tech as it enables companies to create better and safer products that take everyone into consideration, not just one section of society. The decisions that Google makes in regards to diversity for inclusion for women will influence and inspire other tech companies and the future of women within technology.